March is an insane, wild, chaotic month to say the least. There is a lot of intensity. We have 2 retrogrades, Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde, as well as 2 eclipses. The lunar eclipse in Virgo and a partial solar eclipse in Aries. Does it get more intenser than that? Now what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to share with you some of the major themes of March and the astrology of March, and then I'm also going to go through all the 12 zodiac signs and share the horoscope for each sign. I'll leave all the timestamps below. Listen, grab yourself a drink, grab yourself something to relax you, because there's a lot to comprehend and there's a lot also to ground into, because the energy is really intense. So with that being said, let's get started. You know what's so interesting about March is the whole back and forth, because retrogrades are about slowing down. They're about reflecting and revisiting certain situations, renegotiating, re-strategizing, pausing on life, and then when retrogrades end, it's like restarting. But then you got, at the same time, eclipses happening simultaneously, where they could bring so much change, so much transformation. When I look at the astrology of March, in order to simplify it for you, what I see is a lot of repetition. A lot of things, themes, people, emotions, energies, karma, repeating. I know this can be really overwhelming because you're like, hang on a minute, when do I ever get a break from life? Why is there always something going on in astrology? And I feel like that a lot of the times too. Now, here's the thing. Whatever's going up in the cosmos, it doesn't impact everyone at the same time. You know, you can have eclipses, you can have retrogrades, but it doesn't mean that every single person is going to go through some sort of intensity or some sort of transformation. Sometimes it just is impacting a group of people, a collective of people. Not everyone goes through everything at the same time, okay? And I know when you hear Venus retrograde or you hear Mercury retrograde, you're like, red flags, this is going to ruin my relationship. To me, Venus retrograde is really like a blessing, and I embrace it. I love Venus retrograde because to me it's like, okay, if we shit to figure out, if things are not going the way they're meant to go, if none of us are in it together for the long term, let's be adults and sort this out and not waste any time, because life is too damn short to waste on a relationship that's not fulfilling, a partnership that is chaotic, on anything that is not working out. So I love and I embrace Venus retrograde. I'm not afraid of it. It doesn't intimidate me. It doesn't make me feel like, oh fuck, my relationship is gonna break down. Listen, if a relationship needs to break down, it's gonna break down regardless of Venus retrograde. Venus retrograde is just, we're gonna address it right here, right now, and there's no running around. Because if you are in a dysfunctional relationship and it's not working out, but you're avoiding the mess, the chaos, the conversations you need to have, at some point you're gonna keep on actually bumping into them again and again and again. Venus retrograde just sets the foundation. It just lays the ground for you to come into those confrontations and figure things out. So don't be afraid of Venus retrograde. I love Venus retrograde. That's maybe because I love doing the shadow work. I love always just working on myself, and you know, in relationships are a mirror. It doesn't matter how evolved 2 people are. I think that's really like a myth, where if you are 2 spiritually aligned and emotionally intelligent people and you come together, that it's gonna be a fairy tale and your relationship is gonna be amazing because you have all this spiritual knowledge and awareness and emotional intelligence. When you're actually with another person in a relationship, it doesn't matter how spiritually evolved you believe you are, it doesn't matter how self-aware you think you are, you're gonna constantly trigger each other in different ways, because relationships hold up a mirror. That is why the 7th house in astrology rules over relationships, but also at the same time the 7th house rules over conflicts, because when we are in the presence of each other, our egos, our emotions, just everything about us is constantly holding up a mirror. If we're focusing just on the Aries energy, the Aries energy has to do a lot about me, myself, and I. My internal flame, passion, ambition, drive, achievement. Using your energy to achieve, to accomplish. It could also have to do with temperament, rage, anger. And if you look deeper into rage and anger and temper, behind it all could be pain, which can be emphasized when the retrogrades move into Pisces. That is water. That is emotion. The ocean of emotion. That is depth. That is sensitivity. That is intuition, what you feel in your inner realm. It could also have to do with wanting to escape. Wanting to escape from the emotions that are kind of consuming you. As soon as a planet is done with transiting the last zodiac sign Pisces and enters the first zodiac sign Aries, that is a rebirth. That is a brand new cycle. And Neptune has a very, very, very long cycle. So we're completing a spiritual cycle, a karmic cycle. We're not all the way done because of retrogrades, and Neptune will be moving in and out of Aries and Pisces, but we're almost done and completed that cycle. And now we're going to enter a new cycle when Neptune moves into Aries. I mean, one of the things I see with Neptune in Aries, if I just look at it from the spiritual sense, is people using spirituality or their practices and then completely being kind of like engulfed into them, almost in a narcissistic way, like spiritual narcissism. Is that a thing? Because that's what I see when I look at Neptune in Aries. I also see people getting so defensive and getting into conflicts over what they believe in, or trying to push their belief systems and their faith onto others. But Aries is a very confrontational energy. You know, people really pushing their beliefs onto others and making noise about it and it becoming chaotic. That could be one manifestation of Neptune in Aries. People just believing it's their way or the highway. There is no one path that is the same. There are so many paths to take to get closer to the divine. Now I'm going to get through all the 12 zodiac signs and share with you how March may impact you. I'll leave all the timestamps below and check out your rising sign. And remember that the Pisces and Aries and Virgo areas of your life will be the most strongest and prominent in March. Aries, let's talk about it. One of the most action-packed months of the year. And there is so much Aries energy that is going to be up in the cosmos. There's so much to talk about. Now, before I get started, I want to give a shout out to all the Aries that are celebrating their solar return. May it be abundant, prosperous, and may it bring you the change that you are seeking. So, March. We have 2 retrogrades, Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde. And we have 2 eclipses. We have a lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo, and we have a partial solar eclipse in your sign. Now, the partial solar eclipse that we're having at the end of the month in your sign is more of a minor eclipse, so it has more of a full moon energy because it is apart and away from the nodes, and it's not as intense, although what makes it intense is all the Aries energy we are kicking off the month with. So it's going to be quite an interesting month, and something that is going to change that hasn't changed in quite some time, and that is Neptune, the planet of dreams, a planet of spirituality, intuition, sensitivity, psychic energy. Neptune will also be moving into your sign at the end of the month, which is going to be major. So I want to kick off with the retrogrades that are going to occur because they have a similar pattern. As you can see on the screen, I have highlighted the 1st house and the 12th house because those 2 areas are going to be very prominent because that's where there's a lot of energy this month for Aries. Kicking off with the retrograde. So on March the 1st, we're going to have Venus that goes retrograde in the sign of Aries at 10 degrees. And Venus will start off its retrograde cycle in your 1st house that rules over you, your identity, your goals, what you want to achieve in this lifetime, your mind, your ego. And then Venus retrograde will eventually move into Pisces on March the 27th, which means it will enter your 12th house. So Venus being the planet of love and relationships, it's almost like it's navigating between your now, your present, your future, but then also dipping into your past. So it seems like some spiritual healing is going on, because these energies are pushing you to slow down and reassess and get into the core of your heart and your emotions and your feelings with the 12th house, and try to really come to an understanding or to some sort of conclusion or resolution of where is it that you stand in love or in relationships, and where are you headed? Are you able to move on? Are you holding on to something? Like, these questions or these themes may come up, especially with Mercury also going retrograde on March the 15th at 9 degrees of Aries. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming up, like a lot of questions that you're going to be coming up with, and a lot of answers you're going to be seeking, and you may have to address certain past situations, because Mercury will also move back into your 12th house on March the 29th at the end of the month. So this shows these retrogrades, Venus and Mercury. Venus, which is love and relationships, matters of the heart. Mercury, which is a planet of the mind and communication, that there's a lot of traveling between the past, the present, and the future, navigating through certain situations so you can really move forward. Like, that is what the cosmos are pushing. So it can be a very spiritual time for you, and very profound for you as well. Now let's talk about the eclipses that are going to be occurring, starting off with March the 14th, when we have a full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo. This eclipse is going to happen at 23 degrees, but it's going to happen right at the end, so you can round it up to 24 degrees. So take a look at where that falls in your chart. I am working with the whole sign house system, so that does fall in the 6th house, but this may vary depending on house system. So because this is a lunar eclipse, so it's conjunct the south node, this is about a letting go. This is about things being released. This is about things coming to an end. This is about things changing and transforming from one form to another. That's what the South Node energy is leaving things behind, leaving the baggage behind, leaving what's not working out behind, or letting go of something. And that's not necessarily like a negative thing. I think it can be difficult for humans to comprehend that letting go can be difficult, but that's not always the case, because letting go can be so liberating. Letting something toxic go can be so freeing and such a beautiful thing. For example, the eclipse falling into your 6th house, but it will also be impacting your 12th house. 12th house being the past. The 6th house is your daily life and routine. This includes health, wellness, well-being, self-care. This also includes work, your lifestyle. So it could be as simple as letting go of a toxic, negative habit, letting go of a thing in your life that has been causing you just, negative results. Perhaps you're making a change, or you feel pushed to make a change in your lifestyle, or to make a change in your work life. This could even be like leaving a job behind that you've been in for so long, but a new opportunity has presented itself. Letting go means making room for something new. So that could manifest in a very profound way. It could be regarding your health, your wellness. It could be regarding your daily life, your lifestyle, or even work. And eclipses are very transformative, and they can be very intense. And this, of course, depends on where the eclipse falls in your chart, and especially if it's impacting like a planet in your chart. So take a look at where 23, 24 degrees of Virgo is in your chart. Okay, so that could be something huge, and a huge theme for you in the next year and a half in general, because that's where the eclipse energy will be in your 6th and 12th house axis. let's take a look at the partial solar eclipse that will occur on March the 29th. So this will occur at 9 degrees of Aries. Take a look at where 9 degrees of Aries is in your chart. So interesting, because we're going to have Venus retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries, and we're going to have Mercury retrograde at 9 degrees of Aries. How interesting is that? A lot of 9-degree energy. So it seems like those that have 9 degrees of Aries in their chart, or something, or planet really close by to 9 degrees, are really destined for some change. So with this solar eclipse, okay, it is a minor eclipse because it's far away from the nodes. It's not as intense as you may think it is, because although, I go back and forth with this because it gives very much full moon energy, but then if you take a look at all the retrogrades, it kind of amplifies it. And then if you look at what's occurring the day after the eclipse, Neptune entering Aries, so it seems like almost like a renewal, and with all the energy that's going on, like retrogrades are about slowing down and going backwards, and eclipses are about the future, like how we're moving forward, and the changes that are occurring that impact the future. So it seems like a lot of going back and forth, a lot of revisiting the past, but at the same time moving forward, like in the same instance. And I know that can be very confusing, but it's almost like we're going through so many different like timeline jumps, or just time is just working its magic simultaneously in a way, rather than the linear lens. So it can be quite a fascinating period to observe. So with this partial solar eclipse happening in your first house, this could impact your identity. This could impact you as a person, your personality, your mind, your ego, your goals, how you want to move forward in life. This is the first house we're looking at. So we're looking at the first house, which creates your entire chart. Okay? So something can change in terms of how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your identity, how you feel about your goals, and how you want to move forward to achieve. The first house can be seen as a manifesting area of life, because it's the energy, it's the fire that you ignite within you that gives you the courage, the determination to pursue your goals. So there could be a change there. There could also be change with relationships, because although Venus retrograde moves into Pisces on March the 27th, it still is leaving its mark there. And then we also still have Mercury retrograde, which will move on the same day as the eclipse. So they're still leaving their mark in the first house. And then also you got Neptune, the planet of spirituality and dreams and creativity, moving into your sign the next day of the eclipse. So there could be some profound changes. Like I see like a major like awakening or an epiphany, or something changes in your awareness, in your energy, even your aura. Something changes where you start to evolve, or you start to almost like embody your higher self, the most fierce, divine aspect version of yourself, and you're ready to go. Like, yes, there's retrogrades telling you to kind of slow down and revisit the past, but something ignites and changes in you. So this could be like a major shift in your identity as well. So take a look at where 9 degrees of Aries falls in your chart. That's where we're going to have Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, and also the eclipse. And then March the 30th, Neptune entering Aries. Since 2011, it has been in Pisces, at home in Pisces. Neptune in Aries is very uncomfortable because they're completely two different energies. So it's going to be very interesting, the manifestation of Neptune and Aries collectively, but individually, and how this may manifest for Aries is there's almost like this fierce aspect of you that's ignited. It's very spiritual. It's very indigo. You're feeling very in tune with your instincts, even though Neptune is intuition, but there's almost like this spiritual ignition that occurs. This spiritual flame ignites within you, and that spiritual warrior is activated. This divine fierceness is activated. You know, I look at this as like Goddess Kali. I look at this as the warrior goddesses really coming through and igniting. You can also be very focused on your spirituality. You could be very in tune with your spirituality, have spiritual epiphanies, or even spiritual awakenings. So Aries dominance, take it easy, rest. If the energies around you are telling you to slow down, listen. Be in tune with your mind, body, soul, and spirit. And keep on moving forward with your truth, your higher truth. And this month is going to be quite transformative. Hey Taurus, let's get into your March horoscope. March is one of the most action-packed months of the entire year. There is so much going on. 2 retrogrades, 2 eclipses, Neptune changing signs since 2011. I mean, let's get straight in. I'm going to start off this video talking about the retrogrades, and I'll talk about the eclipses, and then I'll talk about Neptune moving into Aries and how that may manifest for you. Now, let's kick off with Venus retrograde, because Venus retrograde kicks off as soon as we get into March the 1st, and Venus goes retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries. Venus is a goddess of love and relationships and harmony, and it will kick off in your 12th house. The 12th house is the past. It's an energy that makes you kind of like get in tune with your inner world, your inner realm, your emotions, your sensitivities, past memories. This is also an area of life where you can access a lot of your spiritual gifts and abilities. This is an area where you can access past lives, as well as channel your creativity, which would actually go hand in hand with spiritual gifts and abilities. With Venus retrograde, there is an emphasis on revisiting the past, revisiting past memories or past situations or just energies and emotions that perhaps you're still carrying on or still holding on to. So this could help you navigate through certain past situations that have to do with love and relationships, or understand certain patterns that have been repeating. This gives you an opportunity to come to some sort of spiritual understanding and spiritual healing, spiritual awakening within the heart as well. Now, Venus will not remain in your 12th house. It will move into Pisces on March the 27th, which means it will move into your 11th house. And I've highlighted both the 12th and 11th house here for you because there's a strong emphasis on both these areas of life. We kick off with the sun in the 11th house. That moves into the 12th house on March the 20th. Then we have Venus retrograde kicking off in this area of life, Mercury retrograde kicking off in this area of life. They both also move into your 11th house. So there's a lot of back and forth. And I mentioned this with Aries, how there's a lot of revisiting the past and figuring out the past and how it connects to your now and the future. Okay, so there's a lot of 12th and 11th house energy. And when Venus does move into your 11th house, this could be your relationships with friends, with the people in your life, with acquaintances, with groups and communities. This may be a time where you kind of have to reassess or reanalyze or kind of like almost reconsider certain friendships. Are they in alignment with you? You know, Venus is a heart chakra. And traditionally, Venus does rule Taurus. So there could be a lot of reassessing friendships and are they in alignment with you and your values, another thing that Venus rules over. This could also be about any collaborations or any projects you're working with other people, and perhaps revisiting that and going over that. Perhaps that changes its form of creativity, or something within your friendships or your groups changes, and perhaps the people you were once in alignment with and shared similar values and ideologies and goals, that changes as well. So there's a lot of back and forth, and the 11th house is going to be very important for you this month as well, because then Mercury will go retrograde. Mercury goes retrograde on March the 15th, kicks off in Aries. Again, this is emphasizing on all that I spoke about. Venus really thinking and figuring out and kind of like reanalyzing and reassessing and getting in tune with your emotions regarding love and relationships. When Mercury retrograde moves into your 11th house on March the 29th, this could have to do with friendships. And because Mercury has to do with the mind and communication, there could be some conversations that you've been holding back from, or that have been long overdue, or perhaps you have to kind of like renegotiate certain things. So there could be a lot of back and forth with friendships, with people you know, with acquaintances, even with loved ones. Okay, so that's going to be the main theme for you in March. The 12th house and 11th house. And then when the sun enters your 12th house, this again emphasizes on the past memories, emotions, and your spirituality. In fact, I might as well just talk about Neptune right as I'm speaking about the 12th house. So Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011. And on March the 30th, it changes signs into Aries, and it will move into your 12th house. So this is interesting because Neptune rules over Pisces, and Pisces and Neptune are associated with the 12th house. So even though it's not as comfortable in Aries, it's very different for Neptune to be in Aries. It's still at home in a way because it's going to be in your 12th house. So when it comes to spiritual epiphany, spiritual enlightenment, spiritual awakening, spiritual integration, channeling your spiritual gifts and abilities, dreams, intuition, creativity, this is going to be all heightened. And it may take... Excuse my dog. This may take my Aries dog, Triple Fire. This may take a very fierce approach. So you may take a much more stronger, fierce, independent approach regarding your spirituality, regarding your creativity, and can also give you a sense of confidence. You know, Neptune can sometimes be unsure of itself. It could be a little uncertain. It could be a little misty and unclear, but Aries can actually provide it with confidence, with reassurance. So this could be a time where, like I said, a lot of creative energy, a lot of spiritual freedom, a lot of regaining your spiritual independence, and that could really be a very beautiful thing. Okay, and Neptune is going to be in Aries for a very long time, so it's going to be unfolding in divine timing. Let's talk about the eclipses. So March the 14th, we have a lunar eclipse in Virgo. This eclipse is going to happen at 23 degrees, but it's right at the end of 23 degrees and 57 minutes. So if we round it up, it's 24 degrees. So take a look at your charts. Do you have any placements in the sign of Virgo at 24 degrees or close by? If you do, this eclipse will be quite profound for you. So eclipses, this is a lunar eclipse and it's a south node eclipse, so there is an emphasis on letting go of things that do not serve you. There's an emphasis on things releasing, coming to an end, things changing from one form to another, and that is not a negative thing. It can be quite a liberating thing. It could be quite a beautiful, freeing thing. You know, imagine letting go of something that doesn't serve you. Imagine letting go of something that is toxic for you. Imagine letting go of something that served its purpose. It could be a beautiful thing. You know, while I was saying letting go of something that served its purpose, I was going to say letting go of something that served people or something. So, you know, it could even be like people, especially with Venus retrograde. And that could be for a lot of people where there's certain people that, you know, there's no room in your life for them, like on the journey you're on and the growth that is occurring for you and the path that you're on, perhaps those people just don't kind of fit in your life anymore. And it's quite normal. In fact, we should normalize accepting that not everyone is going to be with us in this journey forever. You know, some people are seasonal, and that's okay because we are constantly changing and shifting and evolving. And that happens very often in relationships where, you know, you kind of grow apart. You know, you've heard of that, grow apart. And I know that could, again, be a difficult concept for people to understand, but it happens. You know, people change. You know, it's inevitable. We are here to change, grow, and evolve. And sometimes people can grow together and evolve together. And sometimes, you know, people go their own separate ways on their own unique journeys, and we have to kind of accept that. And that could be quite interesting because for you, the eclipse falls into your 5th house. Now, I love the 5th house. The 5th house is such a beautiful house. It is a house of joy. It rules over the inner child. It could even rule children. It rules over creativity. It rules over what makes you feel happy and fulfilled and brings joy into your life. It can also rule over romance and dating. With the eclipse there could be a letting go of any part of the 5th house. I would like to focus this more on relationships, and the reason being is because of Venus being in retrograde while we have this eclipse, and then Mercury also going retrograde the day after this eclipse. So perhaps there was somebody you were seeing, dating, but you were unsure of, like, is this for the long term? Is this gonna work out? Is this giving me, you know, is this fulfilling me or satisfying me, or is this working out? That may be something that you have to come to a conclusion of, because with Venus retrograde, it really makes you go deep into relationships, and are they in harmony? Are they in balance? And with the eclipse in the 5th house, that could be a manifestation, you know, somebody or a relationship or somebody you were seeing, it just coming to an end, or perhaps it even transforms. Perhaps, you know, one way of how the relationship was going is not working out, so it changes directions. Perhaps you find out that you're better as friends, or perhaps you feel like, actually, you know, I think we need to take it a little more seriously. So your attitude towards the relationship could change. This could also impact creativity, especially with Venus again in retrograde. Your creativity just changes. Something about your creative approach, or perhaps this creative project that you've been working on, that changes and that shifts completely. So that can be huge depending on where Virgo is in your chart. And what's interesting is Saturn is a big player here because it will be opposing the eclipse, so there could be some type of restriction or obstacle or something that kind of blocks you from moving forward. But that's when it requires either teamwork, meaning we got to do this together as a team, as a union, if we want to be together, or one person is more willing to put in the effort and the other one isn't, and then you have to kind of go your separate ways because it takes two to tango. So there may be some challenges there, but ultimately the eclipses can bring change that pushes you to be more liberated and pushes you to be more free, and hopefully brings you clarity, because that's the most important thing. Let's get into the eclipse that's occurring at the end of the month, March the 29th. We have a partial solar eclipse in Aries. Quite interesting because this is a 9 degrees eclipse. Venus going retrograde occurred at 10 degrees of Aries. Mercury going retrograde occurred at 9 degrees of Aries. So look closely at your chart and look at where 9 degrees falls. Do you have any planets or placements at 9 degrees? Because if you do, this will impact you the most. So this will be also impacting your 12th house. So the past, emotions, sensitivities, memories, spirituality, intuition, dreams, creativity, that all can be impacted. There could be a change, a shift, something that pushes you to make a shift or a change, or something that divinely inspires you, or something that comes to light, something that transforms. That could be major with the eclipse. and this is really emphasizing on all the Venus retrograde energy and all the Mercury retrograde energy. This is like the cherry on the top. So Taurus dominance, I hope you have an incredible month ahead. I hope it brings you the change you are seeking, and I'll catch you soon. Hey Gem, let's take a look at how March will be impacting your zodiac. March is an intense month. We have 2 retrogrades and 2 eclipses, as well as Neptune changing signs since 2011. So there's a lot going on, and let's get straight into it. And let's kick off with March the 1st, because Venus, the goddess of love and relationships, will be going retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries. That will be impacting both your 11th and 10th house. I've highlighted your 11th and 10th house on the screen because this is where there's going to be a lot of back and forth. To begin with, we're going to kick off the month with the sun in the 10th house. So a lot of energy when it comes to career, goals, and ambitions. Neptune is also going to be in your 10th house, but both the sun and Neptune will move in to your 11th house of groups, friendships, networks, hopes, and wishes for the future. We also have Venus and Mercury that will start off in your 11th house, but then go back into your 10th house. So a lot of back and forth, which means both of these areas of life are important. And the major theme for you this month is career, goals, ambitions, work life, friendships, groups, networks, hopes and wishes for the future, as well as home and family. And we'll get into that later on when we talk about the eclipses. But starting off with Venus retrograde, the goddess of love and relationships. On March the 1st until March the 27th, Venus will be in your 11th house. So this is going to impact friendships and groups and networking. Perhaps your friendships are changing. Perhaps there's some friendships that you let go of, or there's some tension that you kind of have to kind of like balance the peace, or typical Venus, right? Where you have to kind of come on to some agreement or discuss certain things, especially when Mercury goes retrograde here. Perhaps you need to reassess and reanalyze the friendships you're in, or the groups or the people you're acquainted to. Or even like if you're working on some collaboration or project with other people, your creativity changes, or your values and ideologies, or how you used to relate with friends or groups, that changes. There seems like there's going to be some important conversations that are going to occur, especially with Mercury here. So that's going to be really strong for you throughout March. And then when Venus goes into Pisces on March the 27th, it will move into your 10th house. Mercury goes retrograde on March the 15th and changes into Pisces and into your 10th house on March the 29th. So that's when the energy, the focus will be on career goals and ambitions. If there was something you started, but you need to kind of like reassess or reanalyze or readjust or kind of finish, that's going to come up. Or perhaps there's something you have to get clear on, or something you have to balance out. Perhaps it has to do with love and relationships. Perhaps it has to do with bringing more harmony into this area of life, bringing more joy into this life. Perhaps it means that you have to get your creative hat on, your thinking hat on, and brainstorm more ideas, or come up with something more creative, or something that works out for whatever you have in mind regarding career goals and ambitions. Perhaps there's some renegotiating. That could be a major theme. Okay, so these 2 areas of life are going to be very prominent for you, and retrogrades encourage a slowing down. They encourage going inwards and going backwards as well, in order to make sure that everything is in check and that you're not missing out on anything. It gives us an opportunity to make sure we're not missing out on the details, and that we're not looking at anything from rose-tinted glasses, although this isn't a time to make permanent or decisions for the future, but it is a good time that encourages us to go over what we have started. Now, on the topic of the 10th and 11th house, we're also going to have the sun that changes signs. So on March the 20th, the sun moves into Aries, moving into your 11th house. So again, an emphasis on friendships, groups, networks, and your hopes and wishes for the future. At the end of the month, and I'd rather just speak about this now since we're talking about the 11th house, on March the 30th, Neptune, the planet of dreams, intuition, and spirituality, moves out of your 10th house of career goals and ambitions and into your 11th house, which means that friendships may be more spiritual. Perhaps you could meet more people, new people. I mean, you're always meeting people, and you start to connect with spiritual people, or you want to collaborate with others that have the same spiritual vision as you, or same spiritual values as you, or you're working on some spiritual project. Now, this will unfold, in divine timing. It won't happen straight away because Neptune is one of the most slowest moving planets. So this will happen at different times, but this is opening the doorway, the gateway for that to happen, which can be very pleasant. So that's something to look forward to. Let's talk about the eclipses. So March the 14th, we have a total lunar eclipse in Virgo at 23 degrees. It's right at the end, so we can round this up to 24 degrees. Eclipse is impacting your home life, your personal life, your family life, where you find your sense of healing, where you find your sense of belonging, but also impacting career goals and ambitions. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to the 10th house, the 4th house is always going to be impacted. And when it comes to the 4th house, the 10th house is always going to be impacted because they're opposites, okay? So they impact each other. With the eclipse being a lunar eclipse and being a south node eclipse, there is an emphasis on a letting go, a release, some sort of ending, something changing forms from one form to another. That could simply be like something that hasn't been serving you, or changing something in your personal life or in your home dynamic. And it seems like because the sun is in your 10th house and Saturn is closely next to the sun, opposing the lunar in Virgo, the moon in Virgo, there could be an obstacle or a block or a challenge regarding work or career or a goal you have in mind that is kind of like impacting your home life, or impacting your family life, or even like impacting emotions, because that's what the moon can rule over. Okay, so that's something that perhaps you have to kind of navigate or figure out or balance. These energies may encourage you to take a real deep dive into these two areas of your life and find out what's working and what's not working, and what's the best solution and resolution you can come to, so that both of these areas of life can really succeed and be at the best, rather than you having to juggle both areas of life, and one feels like it's not getting enough TLC, or perhaps one feels more challenged than the other. So that's where the focus for this eclipse is. Do take a look at where 24 degrees of Virgo falls in your chart, and if you have any close placements up to that 24 degrees of Virgo, because that will give you a much more clearer idea of what you can expect from this eclipse. But it is focusing on career goals, ambitions, and your home, family, and personal life, as well as your well-being and your healing and your emotions, okay? So there could be something that triggers these two areas of life. But this lunar eclipse is requiring a change, a liberation, okay? It's requiring some sort of routine as well, because that's what Virgo rules over. And being an air sign, especially being a mutable air sign, that can be difficult for you because you like to be free, and what is routine? You like to be spontaneous, but this is pushing for some sort of routine so you can get everything in order and get everything organized. Let's take a look at the eclipse that's occurring on March the 29th. Now, this is a partial solar eclipse, so it's kind of like a minor eclipse, although with all the Aries energy, it's definitely still coming in strong. Now, it's going to be in your 11th house. Interestingly enough, it's going to be at the same degree that Mercury goes retrograde, and close enough to the degree Venus goes in retrograde, because this eclipse is at 9 degrees. Venus retrograde happens at 10 degrees. Mercury retrograde happens at 9 degrees. So look at where 9 degrees of Aries is in your chart, because if you have anything close to 9 degrees or exact, this will be quite profound for you. And this eclipse really just emphasizes on all that I've spoke about with friendships, groups, social networks, hopes and wishes for the future. Regarding Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde, it's really the cherry at the top, and it's really just amplifying that energy even more. So really take note of the 11th house, because that's going to be an area of life that really shifts and changes for you. There could be some sort of change in relationships to your friends, your community, your acquaintances, people you know, people you're familiar with, even like your ideologies, or even in any sort of project you're involved with other people, or even like your hopes and wishes for the future. Something can change. That determines the future. So Gem rising, Gem dominance, I hope you have a transformative month ahead and may it work out in your favor, and I'll catch you soon. Hey Cancer rising, let's take a look at how March will be impacting your zodiac sign. March is an action-packed month. We are gonna have 2 retrogrades, 2 eclipses, and Neptune will be changing zodiac signs, and it hasn't changed signs since 2011, so you know that March is gonna be action-packed. If you can hear background sounds, that's my dog. He's just playing with his little tennis ball. Right, so let's kick off with Venus going retrograde, because that kicks off straight away on March the 1st, okay? Venus will go retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries, and it will start off in your 10th house. And as you can see on the screen, I have your 10th and 9th house highlighted because those 2 areas of life are going to be very profound. There's a lot of back and forth energy, and I'll explain. So we kick off with Venus, the goddess of love and relationships, in your 10th house, going retrograde. So the 10th house has to do with career, goals, and ambitions. Perhaps there is a revisiting of this area. Perhaps it has to do with how much balance is in this area, how much harmony you have in this area, how happy and how fulfilled are you feeling in this area of life. And also, this could impact your creativity, perhaps your work or your goals and what you want to succeed in and what you're ambitious about requires you to kind of revisit your creativity, and perhaps that kind of has to be reassessed or changed. Perhaps this involves a loved one regarding your career or in your workspace. Perhaps there's like a relationship that could either be like a business partnership, or even it could be like a romantic relationship that you have with somebody in the workspace. So this area is going to be very profound, and Venus is not going to stay in your 10th house. It will move into your 9th house. When Mercury goes retrograde on March the 15th, it will start off in your 10th house, and again, it's emphasizing on what I just spoke about. It may have to do with slowing down and assessing this area and really reconsidering and re-navigating and perhaps even negotiating this area of life. And you may have to go over certain goals and ambitions or projects at work, or even reconsider the direction you're headed towards in terms of your career. That is all going to be under like the microscope, okay? And then both Venus and Mercury will move into your 9th house that have to do with higher learning and education and travel. This also has to do with the higher mind and philosophies and spirituality. So the emphasis will go on that. This could be a slowing down in terms of travel. This could be a slowing down in terms of like your mind and how much stimulation is occurring in your mind. And even like it has to do with like your creativity and your philosophies and your ideas and even communication. But the reason why there's a slowing down is because there needs to be more attention towards those areas of life. There needs to be more attention and more care and more going over. So even though life may feel like it's slowing down and you want to move forward, but what's actually happening is the higher self, or even the cosmos, the universe, whatever you believe in, is wanting you to get a little more deeper, wanting you to kind of like dissect those areas of life so you are on the right path instead of rushing. Because greatness takes time, right? Now, you're also going to have the sun move into your 10th house. You're also going to have Neptune at the end of the month that moves into your 10th house. Neptune has been in your 9th house since 2011. On March the 30th, it moves into your 10th house. And we're also going to have a partial solar eclipse on March the 29th in your 10th house. So this is emphasizing on career, goals, and ambitions and where you're headed. So with Neptune here, there could be this spiritual inspiration that occurs where you want to feel spiritually independent and spiritually free and spiritually creative in your work. Perhaps you want to dive into a career path that feels more spiritual, that has to do, and this could be your Cancerian traits, that has to do with sensitivities and perhaps even nurturing and things that are of the heart, you know. whatever you feel more closely connected to on a spiritual lens. Maybe that's what you want to pursue. Maybe that changes for you. Or perhaps with the solar eclipse that occurs on March the 29th, there is an opportunity that helps you to move forward in your career goals and ambitions. So the 10th house and the 9th house are going to be very significant for you throughout March. Now let's talk about the lunar eclipse that's going to occur on March the 14th. This is going to be a south node eclipse. If we round this eclipse up, it falls at 24 degrees. So take a look at where that falls in your chart. Because this is a lunar south node eclipse, there's an emphasis on letting go, releasing, things coming to an end, things changing from one form to another. And that can be very liberating. For you, this eclipse falls into your third house. The third house rules over the mind. It rules over communication. It rules over your environment and even your circle, your social circle, and as well as did I mention community and neighborhood and travel? Yes, all of the above. So there could be a significant change in all that I just mentioned. Perhaps something changes in your mind, your mentality. Perhaps something changes in terms of your communication, how you speak, how you communicate. Especially for you being a watery energy, you're all about opening up your heart and, communicating your emotions and your sensitivities to those that you trust. Obviously, not everyone. So there could be a change in that. Now, there is a thing going on with your 9th house where Saturn is in the mix and it is opposing your 3rd house. So there could be some challenge with either travel, or there could be some kind of like block or slowing down or delay with that, or even like education, or if you're working on some type of creative project, or even when it comes to like how you feel about your philosophies or your spiritual beliefs, there could be like a challenge there. But this eclipse is pushing you to make some sort of transformation in your mind, some sort of transformation in your communication. Perhaps there is something of great importance that you have to communicate during this time. This could have to do with not just verbal communication, it could even have to do with some paperwork or something like a document. It could be something important, or even in your environment, something changes. So that is the emphasis of this eclipse, okay? Just know that we do have Mercury in retrograde and Venus in retrograde, so things may not seem how they are, but regardless, change is happening. There is a greater energy behind all of this where it's pushing for change. So it's a very interesting month, okay? Make note of career goals, ambitions. Make note of the 9th house and the 3rd house because they're going to be profound for you. So take care and I'll catch you next month. Hey Leo, let's take a look at the astrology of March and how it may impact your zodiac. So March is a very intense, action-packed month. We have 2 retrogrades and 2 eclipses, as well as Neptune, the planet of dreams, intuition, and spirituality, changing signs since 2011. So there's a lot to unpack. I'm going to start off with the retrogrades, get into the eclipses, and for you, there's 3 areas that are really strong in March. That's your 9th house, the house of travel, education, higher learning, and also the 8th house of shared finances, resources, intimacy, and deep spiritual transformation, as well as the 2nd house of your personal resources, what you own, money, self-worth, self-value. Those 3 areas of life are going to be very energized throughout March, and let's break that down. So, kicking off with March the 1st, Venus, the goddess of love, relationships, and money, moves into, well, I say money, but Venus, she's classy. Let's say finances. Venus goes retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries. And Venus retrograde kicks off in your 9th house of travel, higher learning, education, and also philosophies. So that is an area of life that is going to be very strong, not only because Venus is going to kick off its retrograde cycle in your 9th house, but also Mercury will kick off its retrograde cycle in the 9th house, because on March the 15th, Mercury will go retrograde at 9 degrees of Aries as well. Both Venus and Mercury will both move into Pisces and enter your 8th house of shared finances and resources and deep spiritual transformation. So both of these 2 areas of life are going to go through major shakeups and changes. it's not just retrograde energy that is impacting both these areas of life, but also we're going to have the sun move from the 8th house to the 9th house on March the 20th. The sun moves into Aries, moving into your 9th house. We're also going to have a solar eclipse on March the 29th in your 9th house. And also on March the 30th, we have Neptune in Aries in your 9th house. So I know this can sound so overwhelming, because it is overwhelming. There is so much going on. And even just like me explaining all of this, I'm overwhelmed because there's so much going on at the same time. But to simplify it, the 9th house, the 8th house, and the 2nd house, those areas of life and all that they rule over will be major themes in your life. And there's a lot of going back and going over with the retrograde. So there could be possible delays or slowing down. The spiritual purpose of retrogrades is to revisit, to reanalyze, to reassess, to take your time. That can be a challenge when you're a fire sign and you just want to go ahead and conquer all that you desire. Like, that can be very difficult for the Leo energy, right? But this is what the cosmos are presenting us with, an opportunity to go inwards, to go over certain things. This could have to do with loved ones, relationships, partnership, especially with Venus and Mercury going into your 8th house. There could be a lot of going back and forth with shared finances and resources. There could be a lot of renegotiating, loads of paperwork or contracts, or a lot of reassessing. Like, things are not final. There's a lot that you need to kind of like go over, but go over like so many times until you like really understand it, because retrogrades, especially when they're in Pisces, things are not always clear, especially when Neptune is at 29 degrees. There could be some mist, there can be some fog. So don't make any permanent decisions during this time, because sometimes they may not be clear under the influence of Pisces and Neptune. However, sometimes life just pushes you where you have no other choice but to make a decision, right? So it really manifests differently in everyone's journey. However, retrogrades do encourage a slowing down, a recessing, a going over these two areas of life. But as these energies move forward, it does seem like there is going to be some moving forward. There is going to be some progress, because we do have the solar eclipse occurring on March the 29th in Aries at 9 degrees, which will occur in your 9th house. It will happen exactly where Mercury kicks off its retrograde cycle, and also close enough to Venus as well. So there could be some change. Something changes. Something is brought to light. Something changes from one form to another. We're also going to have Neptune, the planet of dreams and spirituality, in the 9th house. So this could be a time where, because Neptune is a very slow-moving planet, this could be a time where you're very spiritual and very spiritually active, and your philosophies are changing, your belief systems are changing, you're really enjoying learning about Neptunian themes, whether that's the arts, whether that's creativity and spirituality. It is of great interest in the 9th house. So that could be something really exciting. But, Neptune, like I said, one of the most slowest moving planets, so it does take its time. But that's the energy it's going to come with for you in your 9th house. Let's take a look at the eclipse that is going to occur on March the 14th in the sign of Virgo at, if we round it up, 24 degrees. So this is going to be impacting your 2nd house. The sun will be in the 8th house, exactly where the retrogrades are also going to go in, and also Saturn is in your 8th house, and the eclipse takes place in your 2nd house. This is about your personal resources, your personal finances. Maybe it's connected to shared finances and resources. It seems like things need to get into order. Things need to be organized. There needs to be some sort of structure. There needs to be some sort of balance. Saturn here in the mix is showing that there seems to be this challenge that is kind of like blocking you and your emotions and your intuition and your, almost like your security as well, with Saturn in the mix. So there may be a lot of going back and forth and trying to balance these two areas of life. This would also be reflected by Venus and Mercury going into your 8th house. So it obviously depends on everyone's individual chart. It won't manifest the same for everyone. So take a look at where this eclipse falls in your chart. But just an overall view on this, the second house, your security, your self-worth, what you own, your resources are being impacted. Now, this is a lunar eclipse and it's a south node eclipse, so that emphasizes on things coming to an end. This emphasizes on releasing. This emphasizes on things changing from one form to another. This is a past energy that we're clearing away, but at the same time, when we clear away past energy, we make room for new energy, okay? So it could be about really just letting go of certain baggage or letting go of certain stuck energy that is not working, or decluttering, reorganizing. That could be like a major theme. So Leo rising, your 9th house, 8th house, and 2nd house are going through a major transformation in the month of March. I hope everything works out in your favor. Take it easy, and I'll speak with you soon. Virgo, let's take a look at how March will be impacting your zodiac. Now, this is a huge month for you because you have an eclipse in your sign, and we're going to get into that. That is going to be a major turning point throughout the next year and a half, but especially in March. March is an action-packed month. We have 2 retrogrades and 2 eclipses, and it's kind of like a contradiction because, like, on one hand, you got the retrogrades that are making you kind of like slow down and go inwards, but then you got eclipses that can bring major life changes. And it's like, well, which one is it? Well, a bit of both. A bit of both. I mentioned this in one of my videos, how it's almost like we're not even experiencing time in a linear manner. Like everything is kind of happening simultaneously. Like that's how March feels. 2 retrogrades and 2 eclipses. It's like we're going back and forth. Now, if you take a look at the screen, you can see I have highlighted your 8th house and your 7th house. And that is because they are both going to be very important throughout March. Okay? The retrogrades, both Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde, begin in your 8th house and will move into your 7th house. Then when we have the eclipse will be in your 1st house, but also impacting your 7th house. So let's break that down, kicking off with Venus retrograde because that occurs on March the 1st. So Venus, the goddess of love, relationships, balance, values, well, I shouldn't say balance, that's more Libra, but harmony and finances will be going retrograde on March the 1st at 10 degrees of Aries. It will kick off in your 8th house. Interestingly enough, the 8th house actually rules over shared finances, shared resources, intimacy, deep spiritual transformation. Now, this could be connected with a partnership you have, whether it's like a marriage, whether it's like a love relationship, romantic relationship, or even like any type of contractual partnership you have. You know, this is a time where there could be a lot of going back and forth, reassessing, reanalyzing, renegotiating, especially when Mercury goes into retrograde on March the 14th, that's when the eclipse happens, March the 15th. You know, these dates are like almost overlapping. Like it's almost like one thing happens and the next day the next thing happens, and it's like, whoa, can I catch my breath? That's how March is gonna feel like. March is gonna move fast. It's gonna move fast. So March the 15th, Mercury, the planet of the mind, planet of communication, will go retrograde at 9 degrees of Aries. So this is emphasizing on exactly what Venus in retrograde is doing for you in the 8th house. There's a lot of reassessing and reevaluating and renegotiating. Now, you got to be careful with retrograde energy because it's not really clear. It may be a little misty, a little foggy. Things may not be exactly how they seem. Sometimes the universal cosmos just pushes you to make certain changes or to go a little more deeper, especially when it's regarding the 8th house, so that you don't miss out on any details, so that you are sure. So by the time you are out of this retrograde cycle, you're in a better headspace and you're a little more certain and more sure about the direction you're headed towards. So this is an energy that is making you dive deeper into your circumstances regarding any type of shared finances, shared resources, any type of like deep intimacy, spiritual bond, relationship, any type of karma, any type of deep spiritual transformation, like the 8th house and the retrogrades are going to make you address those areas of life. Now, both Venus and Mercury will also jump into your 7th house at different times, okay? March the 27th, Venus goes into your 7th house in Pisces. March the 29th, Mercury goes into your 7th house. So this is, again, emphasizing on relationships and partnerships. It doesn't always have to be a romantic relationship. It could just be like a partnership of some sort, because that's what the 7th house rules over. All types of partnerships, whether that's a romantic partnership, a marriage, or it's some type of like business partnership, anyone that you have a partnership with. This could even rule over conflicts. This could also rule over anyone you have like karma with. Now, karma is not a bad or good thing. It's just an energy that needs to be balanced. But with the retrogrades occurring in this area of life, this also suggests you having to go back and forth and reanalyze, reassess, rethink, perhaps even renegotiate and go over certain things. This could have to do with contracts, because the 7th house can be a very contractual energy. So that's going to be the main theme of March for you. And what's interesting is the sun will start off in your 7th house, shedding light and really amplifying the energy of the 7th house and bringing a lot of attention and energy to relationships and partnerships, and then it will move into your 8th house. Then we have Neptune at the end of the month, March the 30th, moving out of your 7th house. It's been in your 7th house for a very long time. It's going to move out of your 7th house into your 8th house. Okay, this is like really huge. Really huge, because Neptune has been in your opposite sign. And when it's in your opposite sign, it could, depending on your Virgo placements, it can bring, like, yes, there's a beautiful, mystical, beautiful, like, higher manifestation of Neptune. But, you know, there is polarity and there's duality and there's just energies that are completely opposite to what a planet may even represent. For example, Neptune represents spirituality and divine guidance and intuition, but on the other hand, it could also bring a lot of confusion. It could bring a lot of like mist or fogginess, and things are unclear and uncertain. It can even bring like deceits. Like, that is a Neptune energy, and that's what it's like being on Earth, where there's a spectrum of different energies. Okay, it's not just like there's this one beautiful divine manifestation of a planet. They also have their shadow aspects. They also have their shadow manifestations. So there's a nice thing that Neptune is moving out of your 7th house, because, well, it depends on how you see it. But for the longest time, it's been in your 7th house. So if it's been, you know, kind of causing you any type of confusion regarding relationships, if it's been causing you any type of just like uncertainty, or there's been like some deceit, well, good riddance. Neptune is moving out of your opposite sign. However, for some of you, it may have been a time where life has been like a honeymoon and you've been wearing rose-tinted glasses, and now, like, you know, that energy is also moving out of your 7th house, even though it's moving into your 8th house and it rules over the more serious aspects of life. I mean, of course, the 7th house does as well. The 8th house gets deeper. It's like taking relationships to a deeper level. It's more than I love you, you love me, let's get engaged and get married. It's much more than that. It's about, okay, now we have to combine all our resources together. Now we really have to commit on a much more deeper, serious level. And it's not romantic in the 8th house. It's not. It's serious and it's deep. Sure, it can have this raw sexual energy in the 8th house, of course. However, it's not the most romantic energy. Okay, when you look at it from the more mundane aspect. However, Neptune will move out of your opposite sign. Okay, that's the difference. Even though it's moving into a very serious area of life, and sure, you got to be very careful with like the shadow aspect of Neptune and all the things that I spoke about, but it's moving out of your opposite sign, you know, so it does make a bit of a difference. So that's going to be huge. And then on March the 29th, you have partial solar eclipse occurring in your 8th house as well. So it seems like the 8th house is really, really going through like reassessing, reanalyzing, but at the same time, profound changes and things moving forward and taking on a different energy for the future. Let's talk about the eclipse that is happening on March the 14th in your sign. So this eclipse is happening at 23 degrees and 57 minutes. If we round that up, it's 24 degrees. Take a look at your chart. If you have any planets, if your Virgo planets or placements are anywhere near or close by to 24 degrees, this will impact you the most. Now, this is a lunar eclipse, a south node eclipse, meaning there is an emphasis on a letting go, a releasing, an ending of some sort, something changing from one form to another. So this could bring major changes, and letting go and releasing is not a bad thing. Sometimes it's actually very liberating. It's very freeing. Imagine letting go of something that has not been serving you, letting go of a trait in your life or a lifestyle habit or something or someone that wasn't serving you, or they weren't the best, influence in your life. Like, it can be very liberating. And when you let go or things are released from your life, it just makes room for more. Sometimes it's as simple as letting go of a belief system that's been holding you down, or letting go of a certain mentality, or letting go of your fears. Now, for you, it's going to impact just your overall life and life direction. This is connected to relationships because the sun will be in your 7th house in Pisces, and the major kind of challenge in this eclipse is Saturn. Saturn will be conjunct the sun and opposing the moon, which means there could be some challenge or some sort of restriction or something that brings forth a delay or slowing down, and it's something you kind of have to overcome or navigate through. This is also the residue energy of the retrogrades that will carry on until April. But there could be some sort of block or challenge. It could have to do with somebody else, because we're looking at Saturn being in the 7th house, and here you are in the 1st house. This is your life, your identity, the direction you're taking. You want to move forward, but then if you look at the opposite end of the spectrum, you got the 7th house and Saturn there. So there could be some type of restriction or limitation or something delaying the process of something major happening in your life, or you trying to move forward, but there's something that needs to be restructured or reorganized in order for you to move forward. Now, this could manifest depending on your chart and all the other aspects occurring, but it is impacting your identity, your goals, what you want to achieve in life, your life direction. The 1st house is the beginning of the chart. It's the ignition. It's, what creates the entire wheel. So it's about you moving forward, but then opposing that is Saturn. I like to call him Daddy Saturn. He kind of gives you a tough time. He makes you learn lessons through the tough way, but at the end of it, he always does reward you. So there may be something there that is kind of getting in the way of you moving forward in life, but there is a lesson behind that, and there are rewards waiting for you. So Virgo dominance. I hope March brings you the change you are seeking, and I hope it all works in your favor. Take care, and I'll catch you soon. Hey Libra rising. Let's talk about the astrology for March 2025. It's an action-packed month, and there's a lot of things occurring. We've got 2 retrogrades and 2 eclipses, as well as Neptune changing signs since 2011. Now, although there's a lot of energy, it seems like there's a lot of repeated themes that are occurring. So there's opportunities and windows to make change around the same themes and topics. And if you take a look at the screen, I have highlighted the 6th house and the 7th house, because that's where there's going to be a lot of energy, a lot of action, a lot of movement, as well as your 12th house, where there's going to be a lunar eclipse occurring. There's also going to be a partial eclipse occurring in your opposite sign, and we'll get into that. But I want to kick off with Venus. Now, Venus is your ruler, and Venus will be in your opposite sign, and it will go retrograde on March the 1st at 10 degrees of Aries. Now, Libra and also Aries, these two zodiac signs have been going through the most for the last year and a half because of the eclipses. So many of you have gone through major life changes, and they could relate particularly to relationships, especially because Libra rules over relationships. So it seems like there could be some residue energy left, or things that you still need to kind of like figure out or navigate through or overcome, come to some sort of solution, resolution, or conclusion. And with relationships, whether you are choosing to move forward in a relationship, whether you're choosing to part ways, whether you're on a healing journey, whether you're on a journey of self-love, that is a process. It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight, and it can take years and years, right? So that's why it seems like these themes keep on coming up, because they're really assisting you in this journey that you're on, and that may be different for everyone. It may not be the same. But there is a huge theme around love, relationships, and harmony, matters of the heart particularly. So with Venus going retrograde on March the 1st, it will be in your 7th house. So it's kind of like just really strongly emphasizing on relationships, partnerships, other people. The 7th house could also rule over conflict. Now, you're a peacemaker. You're all about balance and harmony. So sometimes that can be a little challenging for you, but there could be some situations or some relationships or partnerships that you have to kind of go back and forth with and come to some sort of, like I said, solution, resolution, or conclusion. Now, this is further emphasized by Mercury also going retrograde in the sign of Aries at 9 degrees on March the 15th. Both Venus and Mercury are emphasizing on there may be some important conversations that need to be had. There may be some conversations that perhaps you've been avoiding, but due to the situation, you have to have, these important conversations and dialogue between you and other people. Perhaps this means that you're thinking a lot about relationships during this time, or this could even involve like contracts as well. So that is going to be very strong, a strong theme for you. What also further emphasizes this is that on March the 29th, we have a partial solar eclipse in your opposite sign, Aries, at 9 degrees. So take a look at where 9 and 10 degrees of Aries is in your chart, because that is going to be a major degree, because we've got Mercury going retrograde at 9 degrees, a solar eclipse happening at 9 degrees of Aries. So if you have anything at 9 degrees of Aries or Libra, you'll be impacted the most this month. Now, with a partial solar eclipse, it's kind of like repeating the same themes of Venus and Mercury, and this could be a time where something moves forward, or there's some sort of progression around relationships and partnerships and other people. On March the 30th, we have Neptune, the planet of dreams and spirituality and creativity and intuition, changing signs. It's going to move out of your 6th house into your 7th house. Now, with Neptune, Neptune is very at home in Pisces because it rules over Pisces. But when it gets into Aries, this is like just so different. It's so different. And Neptune has a beautiful energy to it. It can be so celestial, so divine, so connected with the higher realms, higher consciousness, higher awareness. But then there's also a shadow side to Neptune, where there could be some confusion or mist, or things may not be clear. Neptune can also sometimes rule over escapism or deceit as well. So that's something you got to be mindful regarding other people, okay? Be very careful. Now, Neptune moving into Aries, going through your 7th house, is going to be there for a very, very long time, because it's one of the most slowest moving planets. So it may not impact everyone the same way. If we look at the positive manifestation, this may be a time where you're seeking more spiritual connections. You're seeking more divine, intuitive, creative, heartfelt connections more than ever. That could be a huge theme with Neptune moving into your 7th house. Let's take a look at the eclipse that's going to occur on March the 14th in the sign of Virgo. It's going to be right at the end of 23 degrees. So if we round that up 24 degrees, take a look at where that falls in your chart. This is a lunar eclipse, and this is a south node eclipse. So there's an emphasis on letting go, releasing, things coming to an end, things changing from one form to another. It could be a very karmic time. Now for you, it's impacting both your 6th and 12th house axis. The Sun and Saturn will be in your 6th house in a conjunction, and opposite will be the Moon in your 12th house. So the 12th house is the past. It's emotions. It's what you're holding on to, what you're storing. It's a very karmic energy. It's also an area of life that rules over healing as well. So there may be a lot going on this month, but it has a lot to do with the past. It has a lot to do with clearing away the past. It has a lot to do with letting go. It has a lot to do with clearing away anything that is not of service to you, because the Sun and Saturn will be in the 6th house. There's an emphasis here on health, wellness, self-care, even work. So these two areas of life may require balance. Because Saturn is in the 6th house, there could be some sort of delay or restriction or challenge, or you kind of come to some sort of realization of what is kind of like blocking you from moving forward. You could have like a major epiphany that occurs during this time, but it does present you a window of healing, of deep healing, especially because the eclipse is going to be in the 12th house, healing past situations, past karma, memories that you're holding on to, energies that you're holding on to, emotions, sensitivities. This could also have to do with like kind of restructuring or reorganizing your life as well. So Libra, take it easy. I hope this month brings you the change you are seeking, and I'll catch you very soon. Hey Scorpio, Scorpio rising, let's take a look at the astrology for March 2025 and how it may impact your zodiac. Now, March is an action-packed month. There's a lot going on. We've got 2 retrogrades, 2 eclipses, and Neptune changing signs since 2011. Now, although there seems to be quite a lot going on, when I look at the astrology of March 2025, it seems like there's opportunities and windows to make progress surrounding the same themes. And if you take a look at the screen, I have highlighted your 5th and 6th house, because for you, your sign, that's where there's going to be a lot of energy, a lot of back and forth, a lot of windows, a lot of opportunities to progress forward. Although retrogrades do kind of help us to go more inwards and pay attention to the details and go over things and slow down, that is all part of the process of progressing forward. Now, both your 5th and 6th house are going to be very action-packed and energized this month, as well as your 11th house, where the lunar eclipse will be occurring. So let's kick off with March the 1st, because Venus goes retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries in your 6th house. And Mercury will also go retrograde. However, it will go retrograde in the 2nd week, so March the 15th. It will go retrograde at 9 degrees of Aries. And both Mercury and Venus kind of have like the same kind of like mission here, and it's to help you to focus more on the 6th house and the 5th house. Themes around health, wellness, your daily life, your daily routine, your self-care, work, being of service to others. This may even involve a relationship or a partnership or other people, because that's Venus, right? Venus wants harmony. Venus wants to feel good. Venus wants pleasure. So there's going to be a lot of activity and a lot of energy. Perhaps you may have to kind of like reassess this area of life and rethink about how are you taking care of yourself, and do you need to make like a lifestyle adjustment or a lifestyle change, and how are things going on with work? Are you feeling good about work? Are you finding it joyful? Are you requiring more harmony in this area of life? Those are some of the questions that may come up. Now, aside from just Mercury and Venus making their mark in this area of life, there's also going to be the sun that moves into your 6th house on March the 20th. There's also going to be a partial solar eclipse on March the 29th. That solar eclipse will be at 9 degrees of Aries. So take a look at where 9 degrees of Aries falls in your chart, because if you have anything at 9 degrees, this will be a very important time for you. With a partial solar eclipse, this could be another window, another opportunity, another kind of like gateway to make some progression forward in this area of life. Something can significantly change in this area of life regarding your well-being, regarding your daily life, regarding your lifestyle, regarding work, your daily life. Okay? Something could change. It could be related to your job, your work changing. And not only is a partial solar eclipse emphasizing on this, but also on March the 30th, Neptune, the planet of dreams, spirituality, creativity, intuition, will be moving out of your 5th house and moving into your 6th house. So that is also going to emphasize on perhaps you're taking a more spiritual, holistic approach to taking care of yourself. Perhaps you're feeling like you want to do something more spiritual in terms of your work. Maybe you want to be of service to others through some type of spiritual form. So those are, again, some questions that may be coming up in your awareness, but that's not going to manifest for everyone the same way, because Neptune will remain in Aries and remain in your 6th house for quite some time. So it's not going to manifest the same for everyone, but that is like a general theme with Neptune moving into the 6th house. Something else you got to be careful with Neptune is sometimes there can be some fog or mist, or things may be unclear, or sometimes it could be a confusing time. That's more so if there are other things in your 6th house, or Neptune is kind of hitting other places in your chart, but that's something to be mindful of. But do take care of yourself, prioritize your well-being, your self-care, okay? There's a lot of energy that's encouraging that. Now, that's all the 6th house stuff, but Venus and Mercury will also move into your 5th house. That's where Saturn currently is at. Now, the 5th house is a house of fun, the house of joy, the inner child, children. It's where you find your happiness, your creativity. This area of life can also impact relationships and dating and romance. So again, Venus being the goddess of love and relationships, and Mercury being the planet of the mind and communication, there could be some back and forth here with a relationship. Perhaps you are seeing somebody and you're trying to figure out, well, is this working out? You know, is this gonna be something for the long term? Important conversations and dialogue may be had regarding relationships and partnerships. And aside from relationships and partnerships, this could even impact like your overall like creativity. Perhaps you work in some sort of creative environment, or you're a creative person, you love self-expression, or you're into arts and crafts. Your creativity may go through kind of like a change, a transformation through this retrograde period. This could even impact like how you have fun and experience joy in life. That may also go through some sort of major change. Now, what else is impacting your 5th house is we're going to have an eclipse on March the 14th. The eclipse is going to occur at the end of 23 degrees of Virgo. So if we round that up, 24 degrees, the Sun and Saturn will be in your 5th house, impacting all that I just stated: dating, romance, relationships, even like creativity, how you experience joy, the inner child. This area of life can also rule over children, and the 11th house rules over friendships, groups, social networks, your hopes, visions, and wishes for the future. This is also in the area of life where you collaborate with others. This also rules over like your ideals. So that could all go through a major transformation. Now, because this is a lunar eclipse, it's a south node eclipse, there's an emphasis on letting go, there's an emphasis on releasing, there's an emphasis on endings, closing chapters. So this could be a time where people may really actually leave your life, or you choose to kind of separate yourself from people because it's not working out, like certain relationships are not working out, or perhaps some friends have kind of like you've outgrown them, and you know it's time to kind of move on. Like that could be a manifestation, especially with lunar and south node eclipses. It's got to do with the past energies. This could also impact like your hopes and wishes for the future. That could go through a transformation. People you connect with, or perhaps like even identify with, like certain traits you identify with, or people that you are acquainted to, clubs, communities, social groups that you are part of, that may go through a major transformation as well. And this is not only just impacting your 11th house, but equally as much as your 5th house as well. So Scorpio rising, I hope March brings you the change you are seeking. Take it easy, and I'll speak with you very soon. Hey Sag rising, let's take a look at how March will be impacting your zodiac. March is one of the most intense months of the year. We have 2 retrogrades and 2 eclipses, and also the cherry on the top is Neptune. We'll be moving signs from Pisces into Aries, so that's going to be a big one. Now, although there's a lot of energies occurring, it seems like there's kind of like a similar pattern and theme, and that's connected to the Aries energy and also the Pisces / Virgo energy. If you look at the screen, you can see that I've highlighted 2 areas of life. The 4th house that rules over home, family, security, and where you go to heal and retreat, as well as the 5th house that rules over joy, creativity, the inner child, children. This is the area of life where you find your fun and how you bring out the best version of yourself. This also rules over romance and dating. Those 2 areas of life are going to be very significant, as well as the 10th house of career goals and ambitions, because that's a energy that's going to be so amplified and so prominent in the month of March. And I want to start off with the retrogrades. So first things first, on March the 1st, Venus goes retrograde in Aries at 10 degrees, and that kicks off in your 5th house. However, it will move into your 4th house because Venus as well as Mercury retrograde will move from Aries into Pisces at different stages, but they're kind of like holding on to the same theme of slowing down and reflecting and reanalyzing and reassessing and kind of coming to some sort of conclusion or solution or a resolution. So with Venus in Aries in the 5th house, this rules over creativity, this rules over the inner child, this is a house of joy. And because Venus is a goddess of love and relationships, the 5th house also rules over dating and romance and even casual relationships. So it could be a situation where you are figuring out, like, where do you stand with this relationship, this situationship? Is it, good for you? Is it serving a purpose? Is it progressing forward? Is it working out? Those may be some things that you have to confront and figure out. There may be some profound conversations and important back and forth communication that you have to have, especially with Mercury also being in this area of life. This area of life could also have to do with creativity. Venus also rules over creativity, and Mercury is the mind and stimulation and ideas. So if you're working on a creative project, or just in general, if your work requires a lot of creativity and using your mind and using arts and crafts, this may be a time where you're reassessing and perhaps kind of like experimenting, but you're trying to figure out like a new style, or trying to, even because Venus and Mercury will be in Aries and Aries is connected to the pioneer, you may try to come up with some new concepts or step into the pioneer and try to find something that has always been within you, but you're trying to channel out this other side to you connected to your creativity. It could also have to do with the inner child, children. It could have to do with just happiness and joy in general, like really reassessing what is bringing you happiness and joy. So that is going to be very strong for you. Now, Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde will move into your 4th house. This is home, family, your personal life, where you find your security, your stability, your sense of belonging, where you go to retreat. So there could be a lot of energy around home and family. Maybe you are trying to figure out what's the best outcome for your home, your family. Perhaps you're trying to really find more, I guess, connection at home, or you're trying to find a sense of belonging at home, but trying to connect more with your roots and your ancestry. That could be a thing, like if we're really diving in deeper. This could also have to do with like personal relationships, because Venus is a goddess of love and relationships. Perhaps there's something that you have to kind of figure out. This could even have to do literally with a home, like moving homes, or trying to figure out things, or negotiating, or kind of reassessing, your home environment and where's the best place for you. Sometimes, manifestations of such can be quite literal as well. So that could be something that occurs. Now, there is an emphasis on your fifth house, not only because of Venus and Mercury retrograde, but also because the sun will move into your fifth house. And there is also going to be a partial solar eclipse on March the 29th in your fifth house. So this could really bring some change, significant change, a significant transformational shift regarding the fifth house, whether that's creativity, whether that's what brings you happiness or joy, whether that's even a relationship. Also, we're going to have Neptune that moves out of your fourth house and into your fifth house, and this could be actually quite beautiful because it's bringing forth a new form of creativity, this divine inspiration, this divine spiritual creativity, which can be so beautiful and so expansive. So that's a really nice place. Like having Neptune in the fifth house can be a really beautiful transit. Now let's take a look at the eclipse that's going to happen on March the 14th. So March the 14th, we have a lunar eclipse in the sign Virgo. It will be at the end of 23 degrees. If we round that up, that's 24 degrees, and it will be impacting your 4th and 10th house. The sun will be in your 4th house of home and family, conjunct Saturn, and opposite will be the Virgo moon in your 10th house of career goals and ambitions. Now, because Saturn is really kind of like a major player here, it's opposing the moon, so there could be some kind of delay or restriction or challenge or obstacle that you're made aware of, or something comes into your career life goals or ambitions that kind of slows you down, or you kind of have to kind of overcome something. But there is this energy that is pushing you to make a change in your career goals and ambitions, but it's also connected with home. Perhaps there needs to be a balance of both of these areas of life. And with Virgo, and especially because this is a lunar eclipse and a south node eclipse, there's a focus and emphasis on releasing, letting go, something coming to an end, and something changing from one form to another. That's not necessarily negative. In fact, it can be quite freeing and liberating, because it's actually pushing you to make a change in your life. It's pushing you to make room for something that you truly desire and that truly serves you. And perhaps there is an opportunity during this time, because with the lunar eclipse, something can change significantly where you're actually in a position where you get this new opportunity regarding career goals and ambitions. So this also emphasizes, because it's a Virgo eclipse, on restructuring, reorganizing, reordering, putting things in place and paying attention to the details. Even though we have the South Node in Virgo, and one of the things and lessons from the South Node in Virgo is to let go of constantly trying to be a perfectionist, but there's still an energy here encouraging you, especially with the retrogrades, is to pay attention to the details. So Sag rising, I hope you have an incredible month ahead. I hope you find the change that you are seeking, and I'll catch you later. Capricorn, let's take a look at how March will be impacting your zodiac. March is an action-packed month. There are 2 retrogrades occurring, and there are 2 eclipses occurring, as well as Neptune changing signs. Now, although there's a lot of things going on, there's a lot of like back and forth, it seems like a lot of the themes are just repeating themselves, and it's just like we have different windows, different opportunities to work on the same themes that these energies are presenting us with. And let's kick off with the retrogrades. So on March the 1st, we have Venus that goes retrograde in Aries at 10 degrees. It will also move into Pisces on March the 27th. Now, it starts off in your 4th house of home, family, and security and stability, and where you find healing and where you go to retreat. And it moves into your 3rd house on March the 27th, which rules over the mind and communication and your daily environment. Now, I've highlighted those 2 areas of life because those 2 areas of life are very profound. Not only is Venus retrograde going to take place in those 2 areas, but also Mercury retrograde. On March the 15th, Mercury will go retrograde at 9 degrees of Aries, and it will move into Pisces on March the 29th. So it starts off in your 4th house, and similarly to Venus, moves into your 3rd house. And they both seem to emphasize on the same themes of finding harmony, finding peace, finding joy and pleasure at home. And there could be a lot of going back and forth. Perhaps there could be some issues that have come up at home or family, or perhaps you're reconsidering certain things about home and family. And even when it comes to like your personal life, when it comes to your well-being and your emotions, and when it comes to your sense of security and safety and belonging, maybe you are figuring these things out, or they're coming up in your awareness. Maybe you're thinking about relocating, or thinking about how you could be of better service to yourself so you could feel more at home, so you can feel more relaxed, so you can feel more like you're in a sanctuary. Now, because Venus rules over love and relationships, this could even impact relationships at home, whether that's with your partner, your, marriage, romantic relationship, or just any type of family relationship. This could impact, where you're having to kind of like reanalyze and reassess in a way, or kind of like figure out just any issues or things that are not working out in your home life, your personal life, and your relationships. And this is occurring so that you can find joy, so you can find balance and peace and harmony within your home life, personal life, and relationships. There may be some important conversations that have been actually waiting to be had, or these energies kind of push you to have certain conversations that are of great importance. This is emphasized by Mercury being in your 4th house. Now, when both Venus and Mercury move into your 3rd house, the emphasis is on communication, but also on your mind and your daily kind of like environment. So a lot of things that have been perhaps you've been like putting away to the side because you found them to just not be of importance or value, they're now coming up. So any questions that you've had, any answers you've been seeking, anything that's been coming up into your awareness or your mind that you probably didn't have time for, especially regarding relationships, or even like regarding your mentality or certain beliefs, or even when it comes to travel, when it comes to your even like creative energy or the energy you're around, perhaps that's something that you want to change or shift, or you may find that you're having to reassess these areas. You're having to reassess like your mentality, your mind. You're having to reassess like your creative inspiration. You're having to reassess the daily environment you're around, and perhaps you have travel plans, or you're kind of like restructuring this area of life, especially with Mercury here, because there's just so much mental stimulation. Even though it's in retrograde, it's encouraging you to go over this area of life. Now, the 3rd house is going to be of great importance, because this is where the eclipse is also going to be activating. But before I move on to that, let's talk about the partial solar eclipse that's going to occur on March the 29th. It's going to happen in your 4th house of home and family, and your sense of security, stability, and where you go to retreat. And this could bring forth a change where something does change in your home, family, personal life. And it's kind of again repeating and re-emphasizing on Venus and Mercury leaving its mark in this area of life. So there could be some change that occurs later on in the month. Something else that's occurring in this area of life is Neptune, the planet of dreams and creativity and spirituality, is moving into your 4th house. So this could be a time where on one hand, there could be a lot of divine inspiration coming through with Neptune moving into your 4th house. There could be a lot of like spirituality involved with home and family in your personal life. There could be a lot of deep healing, spiritual healing. There could be a lot of just like creativity here as well, like a lot of just beautiful divine serene energy. But the more shadowy aspect, the more shadowy manifestation could be things may be unclear, or there could be some mist or fog or confusion. So you got to be very realistic with Neptune. However, if we look at the positive, this could bring just a lot of spiritual awareness into the 4th house. And the 4th house is a very mystical, magical area of life. Don't just think it's about home and family. Like, when we get deep and esoteric, it's very spiritual. And we'll get more into that when I do a video on Neptune moving into Aries. Now let's take a look at the lunar eclipse that will be occurring on March the 14th. This will be occurring in the sign of Virgo. It's at the end of 23 degrees, so if we round that up, 24 degrees of Virgo. Take a look at where that falls in your chart, because if you have any placements close to 24 degrees of Virgo, this will impact you the most. Now, the sun will be in Pisces conjunct Saturn in your 3rd house, and opposite will be the lunar eclipse in the sign Virgo. So this is emphasizing on the mind, this is emphasizing on travel, your beliefs, your spiritual philosophies, even education, higher learning, even like exploring and expanding your mind, your horizon. So because this is a lunar eclipse and it's a south node eclipse, this could impact you letting go of certain things, or things coming to an end, or something completely changing and shifting and transforming forms. This could have a lot to do with your belief systems, a lot to do with your mentality, and just a lot to do with how you want to move forward in terms of travel. Maybe something significantly changes. Now, because this energy is all about Virgo, so this is about restructuring, reanalyzing, reordering, reorganizing your life, especially these two areas of life. Capricorn, I hope March brings you the changes that you are seeking, and I'll catch you very soon. Aquarius, let's take a look at how March will be impacting you. March is one of the most intense months out of the entire year. We have 2 retrogrades and 2 eclipses. And the cherry on top is Neptune, the planet of dreams and spirituality, will be moving out of Pisces and moving into Aries at the end of the month. Now let's kick off with what's kicking off right at the beginning of the month, and that is Venus, the goddess of love and relationships, going retrograde in the sign of Aries at 10 degrees. Now, Venus is gonna go in retrograde from the sign Aries into the sign Pisces throughout the month. So it will start off in your 3rd house and then move into your 2nd house. And as you can see on the screen, I've highlighted both your 3rd and 2nd house because those 2 areas are going to be very profound. Not only is Venus's retrograde cycle and motion going to go between your 3rd and your 2nd house, but Mercury is also going retrograde this month, which means it will also be going from your 3rd to your 2nd house. And the thing is, although there's loads of energy occurring throughout March, it seems like a lot of repetition, a lot of emphasis on the same themes. That's what it is. Because if we look at both Venus and Mercury going retrograde, Venus goes retrograde on the 1st of March, Mercury goes retrograde on March the 15th. They both are emphasizing on the same thing in different ways though, because Venus is about love and relationships and harmony and creativity, and sometimes it can also be finances. Mercury is about the mind and communication and travel. So they do manifest very differently, but they can have a similar tone and theme to it because they're both going to be moving in the same areas of life. So starting off with the 3rd house, this could have to do with the mind and communication, and because we're looking at Venus here, perhaps there's something you have to kind of like reassess and reanalyze and figure out. If you are in a relationship between you and your partner, maybe you have some communication issues, or maybe the communication is not going smoothly, or maybe that's something as a couple you need to work on or progress forwards in, and that may be a theme or a topic that comes up. Perhaps you're not feeling fulfilled, especially being an air sign. You're all about stimulation and ideas and visions and, being progressive. Maybe that's not being, that energy is not being matched and there's some tension there. This could have to do with travel. This could be connected to your environment, your neighborhood, even your daily activities. Perhaps there needs to be a change so you can feel more content, so you can feel more joy. Mercury also emphasizes on this. Now, Mercury is at home in the 3rd house, so again, this is emphasizing on communication and travel in the mind. There is a slowing down, you will be kind of slowing down in this area of life, and there is going to be time for you to kind of process and look at what's working and what's not working in your relationship, or even in your own personal life outside of your relationship. Perhaps you need more stimulation. Perhaps you feel like you need to be in an environment that stimulates you, or you need to explore different energies and areas, and you need more experiences. That could be a manifestation. Now, both Venus and Mercury will move into your 2nd house. The 2nd house rules over self-worth, values, finances, resources, security. That's going to be a huge topic as well. There's going to be a slowing down in that area of life where you're going to have to kind of reassess and reanalyze and rethink, perhaps even re-strategize. And if this involves another person, which it most likely could, because if we look at what's coming ahead with the eclipses, this could, and I'll get into that, this could impact relationships and partnerships. So there's an emphasis and focus on that area as well. Okay, so the energies are supporting and encouraging you to really take your time and not to make any quick decisions, to really take as much time as you need to figure things out and look at the details and really reassess until you come to some sort of, whether it's a solution, a resolution, or a conclusion. Okay, so that is what these energies are encouraging. Now, speaking of your third house, we're also going to have a solar eclipse that happens on March the 29th in your third house. Solar eclipses, they can bring change, they can bring a major shift, although this is a minor solar eclipse. It's still an eclipse, but it's really just kind of like emphasizing on both the Mercury and Venus energies. This could be a change where you do get an opportunity where you get to move or travel or experience something new, or something changes in terms of like your ideas and your mental energy, your how stimulated your mind is, even when it comes to inspiration, something that has to do with communication or your like daily environment as well. There could be a huge shift there. On March the 30th, Neptune, the planet of dreams, spirituality, intuition, creativity, also moves into your third house, and this could actually bring more spiritual, divine inspiration, where you feel more open in your awareness and you're able to channel a lot of creativity. This could be really great for like spiritual epiphanies and spiritual awakenings and understanding spiritual topics, and really helping and assisting you in this spiritual journey that you're on, if you are on one. So that could be a real positive. Now let's take a look at the eclipses. Well, I've just spoken about the solar eclipse, but the main eclipse that's going to happen at the middle of the month, March the 14th, is the total lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo. It's going to happen right at the end of 23 degrees of Virgo. So if we round that up, 24 degrees, the sun will be in Pisces, conjunct Saturn, and the moon will be in Virgo in your 8th house. So this could involve resources, whether that's your resources, shared resources, and finances. This could involve another person, partnerships, anything contractual, or even like taking a relationship on a much more deeper level. And we're looking at intimacy and spiritual depth and transformation. So with the lunar eclipse here, being a south node lunar eclipse, it's about releasing, it's about letting go, it's about endings, okay? And this could be very liberating and freeing, where it can actually be a positive, okay? And I know it's easy for you to let go because you're an air sign. Even though you're a fixed air sign, letting go can actually be very freeing and liberating for you. You're one of those individuals that, you're not that attached to things. You have a detached nature, which can sometimes work out in your favor because it's easy for you to let go. Where for others, it's kind of a challenge. For you, it can be easy. Now, this is something that even may manifest very intensely, because we are looking at the 8th house and Saturn is opposing the moon here. So there could be some kind of like challenge or restriction or a delay in this moving forward process, or in, coming to a conclusion, or coming to some sort of solution or some sort of resolution. This could even encourage you to kind of reorganize the 8th house, or restructure finances and resources, and really to pay attention to the details. What are you missing out on? What are you just like overlooking or even underlooking? It's time to really look at everything very specifically to detail, even though the south node energy is pushing us to not be perfectionists, but yet again, this energy is telling you to remove the rose-tinted glasses and be very sober and realistic when it comes to anything you share with somebody, whether that's resources, whether that's finances, whether that's just like having a spiritual connection with somebody. It's time to reassess, reanalyze, and that's all that retrograde energy, but also the Virgo energy that's telling you to pay attention to the detail. But something profound can happen in this area of life. So Aquarius, I hope this month brings you the change that you are seeking, and I will catch you very soon. Pisces, let's take a look at how March will be impacting your zodiac. March is one of the most intense months out of the entire year. There are 2 retrogrades occurring and 2 eclipses occurring. And on top of that, your ruler, Neptune, which has been in your sign since 2011, will be changing signs at the end of the month on March the 30th into Aries. So, a lot to unpack. You know, this month feels like there's so much happening simultaneously. We are moving forward and backwards, taking steps forward, but then taking steps backwards all at the same time. And there's so much energy, but it's almost like all the energy that is occurring kind of just reflects on each other. It's really just igniting the same themes again and again, especially with all the Aries stuff we have, because we're going to have Venus, Mercury in retrograde in the sign of Aries. They're going to move into Pisces. So yes, you're one of the zodiac signs that are being impacted in March. Not all of you, depending on your chart and your placements. And then also we have a solar eclipse in Aries, Neptune moving into Aries, an eclipse in your opposite sign. So it's almost like, yes, loads of energy taking place, but it's kind of like just the same themes repeating again and again in just different forms. So let's unpack this, kicking off with Venus, the planet of love and relationships and harmony, moving in retrograde motion on March the 1st in the sign of Aries. So if you take a look at the screen, I have highlighted the areas of life that are really going to be energized for you this month and moving forward in April as well. So we start off Venus retrograde in your second house. The second house rules over what you own, your finances, resources, your self-worth, what you value, and also your security. And Venus rules over relationships and love, but it can also rule over finances as well. So that could be a major theme for you in March. Now, do bear in mind that Venus retrograde will move back into Pisces, into your first house, and it will be moving on March the 27th. So there may be an emphasis on you, your identity, your life purpose, path, your goals, and what you want to achieve. And it's connected to the second house. It's connected to resources. It's connected to self-worth. It's connected to security. It may be connected with money. This may even involve partnership. Maybe it has to do with a relationship or even a different type of partnership, because that's what Venus can also rule over. Two people coming together in a partnership, in a union. Now, because Mercury also will be going in retrograde on March the 15th at 9 degrees, and 9 degrees is a very crucial degree this month, because not only do we have Mercury going retrograde at 9 degrees, but we're also going to have a partial solar eclipse at the end of the month at 9 degrees. So it's a very profound degree. So take a look at where that falls in your chart. Now, Mercury rules over the mind. It rules over communication. So while it's going to be in your second house, kicking off the retrograde cycle in Aries, there may be a lot of questions and a lot of things going on in your head about resources, security, money. Perhaps there's just a lot of things that you have to kind of reassess or reanalyze financially, or perhaps there's like things that you have to kind of like renegotiate. Perhaps there's contracts or paperwork involved here. That could be a very Mercury second house manifestation, but Mercury will also be moving back into your first house. So again, this is reflecting on you and your life path. Like I said, with Venus involved here, and also because you're going to have a lunar eclipse in your opposite sign that falls in your seventh house, this could involve another person, whether that's like a romantic relationship or some other partnership or just other people in general. Now, the seventh house can also rule over conflicts. We'll get more into that. So this could be a time where you really have to take it easy and slow down and really get into the details and go over things. Like, that's what the cosmos, these alignments, what they encourage us to do when we have retrogrades is to take it slow, is to go over certain areas, especially the areas that these retrogrades are occurring in our chart, to go over and over and over until we figure things out, until we are ready to move forward, until we have really dived deeper into whatever area of life they're hitting in our charts, so that we have a crystal clear idea of what is going on and how to proceed forward. So the first house and the second house for you this month are going to be crucial. Now, on the topic of all this Aries energy, March the 29th, we also have a partial solar eclipse. And it's a minor eclipse. However, it's kind of like just re-emphasizing on all that I just spoke about with Mercury and Venus impacting you. It's kind of just like a repetition. However, yes, it's a solar eclipse, so it could manifest in terms of something can change, something can shift regarding your second house. This will ultimately depend on your chart and where 9 degrees of Aries falls. Let's talk a little bit about Neptune moving into Aries. So it's been in your sign. Energy you're very comfortable with, and sometimes, you know, when we're comfortable with something, it kind of makes us a little too comfortable where we don't want to get out of our comfort zone. So with Neptune moving into Aries, it's really getting out of its comfort zone. I mean, Neptune and Aries are two different energies on two different ends of the spectrum. They couldn't be further apart from each other. So collectively, this is going to be interesting on how it manifests. But for you, if we're looking at the whole sign house system, and of course, this will vary in your chart, but Neptune will be moving into your second house, again emphasizing on security, emphasizing on stability, emphasizing on resources and finances and self-worth. With Neptune here, especially in Aries, perhaps you want to take a more... You're already, of course, being a water sign ruled by Neptune. You're, of course, very spiritual, and everything has like a spiritual connotation to it, but with Aries here, there's more of a fierce drive. There's something a little more liberating and freeing about Neptune when Neptune is in Aries, and it may make you strive even more fiercely, and it may even activate more of a fierce aware, like you may drive forward with a fierce awareness. And this could be a time where you are wanting to move forward in this area of life, and of course Neptune is going to be here for a very long time. But you may want to move forward regarding second house themes, and not just in a spiritual way, but in a more fiercely spiritual way, in a more being more confident and having more like fierce faith within you to move forward. And in fact, you know, Neptune is a very divine celestial energy. It does have its shadows. It does have its issues with, you know, not seeing things clearly and not removing its rose-tinted glasses and often romanticizing everything. But with Aries, it really gives it this drive and this passion and this sacred fire. And, you know, Aries is a pioneer energy. So, in fact, you could be very creative with this area of life and choose to really create stuff that bring forth more abundance and more prosperity into your life, of course, with that spiritual energy and that divine sovereignty involved as well. So that can be a really beautiful manifestation. Of course, it does depend on how, you know, what else is going on in your chart. Now let's get into the lunar eclipse that's going to occur on March the 14th. Okay. So this lunar eclipse is in your opposite sign of Virgo. The sun will be in Pisces and the moon will be in Virgo. This is a total lunar eclipse, and it's a south node eclipse. So there is an emphasis on south node energy, what we're leaving behind, letting go, releasing, things coming to an end. This lunar eclipse is at the end of 23 degrees, so if we round it up, 24 degrees, take a look at where that falls in your chart. If you have any placements close to 24 degrees of Virgo, Pisces, you'll be impacted the most. Now, eclipses do bring change, and sometimes that change can be something that you were expecting, like things were, you know, moving in a direction where you know something is coming up or something is approaching, especially with that Piscean intuition. Or sometimes, you know, eclipses can really be like a sudden change can occur. So with the Virgo energy, especially because this is falling into your 7th house, this is emphasizing on relationships. This is emphasizing on one-to-one partnerships. This is emphasizing on other people. This is also emphasizing, perhaps on a lesser extent, but depending on your chart, it could be, you know, conflict with other people or even karma. You know, other people play as a mirror for us, and we can learn so much about ourselves through other people. Now, with the sun being in the 1st house, this also has to do with you, your identity, your life path, and your purpose, and how you're choosing to move forward. The interesting thing about this lunar eclipse is Saturn is in the mix. Saturn is conjunct the sun and opposing the moon, so there could be some challenge, some delay, some restriction, or some type of energy that is not allowing you to move forward as much as you want to move forward, but there is a lesson behind it. And perhaps this lunar eclipse presents you with opportunity to almost like restructure your life or reorganize your life or kind of declutter and really take a look at your life. And this obviously is Venus also playing out, and of course Mercury retrograde as well, where there could be people that, you know, leave your life, or you decide to cut cords, or you decide to, okay, you know, this isn't serving me anymore, this isn't in alignment with me anymore, this isn't actually working out for me in my highest good. So relationships can really play out in this situation, in this eclipse, especially because it's impacting your 7th house. And look at it as a positive from a bird's eye view of, if, you know, anything is not aligning with you and your life, you know, you have to liberate yourself and free yourself, and, you know, letting go or things coming to an end can actually sometimes be so beautiful and actually work out for your highest good. So that's something to keep in mind. And sometimes, you know, if you're single and you're probably like, well, I'm single, I'm not in a relationship, how's that going to work out for me? It could be just like an energetic thing as well. You know, especially if you've been on like a healing journey, and this eclipse, especially if it's impacting you personally, where something happens and just energetically you feel different. You feel different about this attachment you had towards somebody else, or you are finally ready to actually let go of someone or a memory or a relationship or a partnership. You're ready to let go emotionally. You're ready to let go of them from like your mind. You know, it works in so many different ways. So Pisces rising, I hope this month brings you the change that you are seeking, and I'll catch you soon. I have so much more coming on March, because March is an intense, wild month. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, comment down below, subscribe, check out my booking website, and I'll see you very soon. Lots of love.